I know and understand that at the moment, most people are somewhat distracted by what's going on in the world around them related to COVID-19. It is indeed important that this pandemic is brought under control as quickly as possible and with minimal economic disruption. It would be terrible if the deaths from economic suicide exceeded that from the virus, not to mention the possible increase in family violence through people being confined together for extended periods of time. It is also important that during this time that everyone becomes more aware of the importance of their foundational health. In other words, if you have an underlying condition which makes you vulnerable, and should you be forced to stay at home, try and use that time to research how you can remove or at least mitigate any of those conditions. As you may recollect from my last video, there were two underlying conditions that made people most vulnerable to dying from COVID-19. These were diabetes and heart disease. Whereas heart disease is not a quick fix, type 2 diabetes can be. I was watching a video of a doctor on the news the other night, and he said he did some research on the death of 15 victims of COVID-19 and found that 10 of them were confirmed diabetics and 4 were pre-diabetics. He didn't say if they had any other underlying conditions, but it's likely they did, given that the majority of deaths from COVID-19 are people with 2 or more underlying conditions. When it comes to type 2 diabetes, the evidence is very strong that it can be beaten just from dietary changes alone. Just exactly what those dietary changes should be can vary greatly depending on who you listen to. There are extremes of views about this, ranging from the total elimination of all carbohydrates and going on a 100% carnivore diet, right through to the other extreme, which is veganism. Both can help when it comes to beating type 2 diabetes, but what works for one person may not necessarily work for another. I think that the key to beating type 2 diabetes is finding what works for you that will keep your hunger satisfied and will not raise your blood sugar excessively. That means experimenting. So how do you do that? Well, in the case of blood sugar, what you need to do is to go out and buy a kit from your local pharmacy that measures it. I'm not diabetic, but I bought one just to keep an eye on my blood sugar levels from time to time because I was curious. Here's a photo of it. All you have to do is prick your finger with a little blue pen and put a strip into the machine, as you will see here, and it will then suck up the blood, and in a few seconds you have a reading. The beauty of this is that it is easy to test what foods spike your blood sugar, which in turn may help you modify your diet. I've seen many instances in which people have reversed their type 2 diabetes within a month or two, just by making dietary changes. I should add that it is much easier for people who are happy to eat a natural meat, fish and eggs to reverse this condition than those who follow a vegetarian or vegan diet. But having said that, it is possible for these folk to still achieve a result, just harder. So invest in one of these machines, which is less than $100, and you can keep an eye on what works for you when it comes to your diet. In my next video, I'll revert back to my series on cardiovascular health and how you can reduce your risk in this area. So, talk soon.